back, everybody, to the EU Masters semi-finals. I'm Munchables. I'm joined by the Jamad lad himself as we head into game number 2 between BTXL and MOUZ. BTXL starting off strong with a win right here, but it has to be said as we go into the second champ select here, BTXL getting blue side once more means they could just rinse and repeat what happened in game 1.
Yeah, I think if you're XL, you don't really have to change anything. You can just stick to the same draft, same ban phase. I think the onus realistically is on MOUZ if they want to try and adapt, and how will they? I think obviously the biggest question for me is probably the Hecarim pick, right? Do you feel like you have to remove it? Markoon wasn't necessarily oppressive in the early game, and he wasn't really put down either by the XinZhao pick. So maybe in draft, if MOUZ want to give over this Hecarim again, they potentially look to try and draft a little more lane priority. I think that's got to be the key, because if you've got an aggressive invading jungler like XinZhao likes to be, you have to supplement that with lane priority, and it just wasn't there in game 1.
Yeah, I think Goldbog said it really well on the desk as well, that you need to have those lanes to play through. You need to have ways to get out on the map. It's going to be the Kai'Sa banned away, though, here by MOUZ. Taking that away from Deadly does mean Hecarim is available. Markoon gets it. This will be his 9th Hecarim game out of his, 11 EU Masters games. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, a bit of an OTP, this tournament, bit of a one-trick pony, but hey, it's working, right? For the most part, so don't try and fix it. And for XL, I mean, you can lock in the Rell, you know it's probably going to be fine. And even though the Kai'Sa's gone, I mean, yeah, you've got stuff like the Jinx available. You know, realistically, the Seraphine probably ends up in the bot lane more often than it doesn't. So you're really safe in this B2B3, and now I think, what is MOUZ going to change here for this R3 lock-in? Are they going to try and get maybe a stronger bottom lane pick? Are they going to look for, you know, leaders champion now, ban out 2 picks from Hatrixx that can potentially put him down, maybe removing away the Malzahar, so there's a little less pressure in that sense if they want to lock in the Akali on R4 as well. But for now, pretty much same draft minus that AD carry difference in BTXL.
The thing is, Jamada, I can understand it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at how game number 1 went, it was so damn close for almost the entire game. I can understand thinking, look, it wasn't the draft that was the issue, it was the way it happened. Banning the Renekton as well, it was, I mean, Orome was just, it was unstoppable during some of those fights. It was actually unbelievable, so I can get behind that ban. Yeah,
I really can get behind the Renekton ban this time around. Curious to see what they want to pair up with, because I guess you're now thinking about, okay, is Orianna going to be a problem? Because then you're going to have, not only is she supplementing the Hecarim, but she's also potentially going to be buying a lot of space and shielding for the Jinx as well, because Jinx isn't necessarily going to be diving forward. She might be moving forward, but she's never really going to be like diving in until she gets some resets going. It's actually going to be an Atriox, but that feels almost like a throwaway, if I'm just going to be completely honest.
I think it's just the champion that does exactly what
yeah. But it just feels so off, because now you're, unless you're stopping things up and you're going for Satorius' pick here, it just kind of feels like a bit of a wasted ban. And so I'll hold reservations for now. I'll fully hold reservations until I see what MOUZ actually go and elect into it. It's going to be Gragas. Okay, so I kind of like this as a bit of a change, because even earlier on in the tournament, we saw Satorius kind of save games and make games happen for MOUZ off the back of really great casks. So I don't mind this as a blind, and now I'm a little more on board with the Atriox and the Renekton bans. Atriox can kind of just sit through that lane and sustain it. So what is the answer going to be here for XL? I think the Orianna is almost telegraphed, and honestly, if Orome wants to, you can just lock in. There's no harm, no foul, and it just leaves leader to his own devices on whatever pick he's going to try and take into this Orianna.
Yeah, it looks like it will be the Gnar going in there. And as you say, leader with the last pick. And we have to bear in mind, the Seraphine could be a flex. So that could still go, that could go to Gadget, or that could still go to leader in the mid lane as well. Yeah. I don't think it will, but it could. Just throw it out there. Zed is available, Yasuo is available. As you can see, leader does like these spicy picks. It's the Yone as the final lock.
Okay, so I'm down with the Yone. I love watching this champion in competitive play. You can see some really crazy moments happen, especially when you've got things linear almost as well, like the Encore. All it takes is the Encore on top of the Yone Orome, or vice versa, and all of a sudden you've just got this massive ball of death, and there's nothing XL can really do about it other than trying to just dodge out on the Oroments. So for MOUZ, a little bit more chaotic, much like last game. I think this time around, the Akali not being there, having to deal with the likes of the MOUZ almost consistently is going to be a really big plus for MOUZ. But on the side of BTXL, I feel like compositionally they just have a stronger to the meta standards draft on composition this time around. They've got Orianna, who can buy a lot of space for this Jinx, can help speed up this Hecarim, and you've got the follow-up there from the Shockwave on some of these Rell engages as well. So I think MOUZ, they've got a bit of work to do to try and put somebody behind and try and get somebody in this composition of theirs really far ahead, whether it's leader on this Yone, whether it's Pridestalkr on the XinZhao. You might have a little more lane priority this time around to play with, and I think that's going to be the key to early lane priorities, to see if Pridestalkr can actually get up in the face of Markoon and stop him from setting up his lanes here.
We'll have to wait and see if they're going to be able to. It's time to get into game number 2. It's a best of 3 right here, which means BTXL are on the cusp of making it to the finals. This would be the first time in NLC, UKLC history of a team making it to that final. But MOUZ on the other side, they still have time. It was a best of 3. Gadget has changed his mind on something. He is going to go back and grab a ward. He did not want the sweeper after all, and he'll be able to rejoin his team. But MOUZ, they're looking to break history for their team. They're looking to change things up and make it to that final and try and tie up big as a Prime League champion. But I want to talk a little bit about junglers here, Jamada, because there was extensive talk on the analyst desk, and you were mentioning as well how Pridestalkr on this XinZhao last game didn't have lanes to play through. He didn't have the priority he needed to succeed on this XinZhao. With the Yone in the mid lane, does that change things?
I think once leader hits level 6, yes, especially if they can try and find Hatrixx early on and blow his flash. I feel like Deadly and Advienne on the bottom side will have priority. So talking about Enjawve and even Gadget honestly roaming up towards the mid lane as well. I think if they can try and find his flash early on and then abuse that once leader has that fate sealed available, then yes, I think it's definitely an option. I think in general though, just having also the Gragas on the top side into this Gnar, even though it is a bit of a moot like matchup, it can just kind of be a bit of a tank slugfest. Just being able to have a little more CC in the gank setup there on the top side at least gives Pridestalkr the option.
Advienne looking for a 2v1. This is a little bit aggressive, but he will go back in for the re-engage. Deadly is here, stacking up his Q already. Lethal tempo taken away. Both ignites going down as well. We're looking for first blood on either side, but both walk away for now, barely. What just happened, Jamar?
Look, there's blood in the water. That's the only thing I can say, man. They just want to fight. Advienne's pathing a little bit sus, but that's okay. That's all right. I think the trade, obviously, in return, makes up for it. But of course, if MOUZ decide to sort of let this lane neutralize out a little bit, the sustain will start to come in from the Seraphine. So in that sense, XL, they might want to try and push any advantage they can. The hook could come through here, but level 2 was hit by Deadly and Advienne at the same time, so they decide to not go for that play.
So Markoon now spotted on this ward that was dropped by Enjawve right at the start of the game on the Raptors. So Pridestalkr will have full information on where Markoon is on the map. They'll be finishing their clear at fairly similar times here. I'm not sure if Pridestalkr obviously missed his crooks this time. Last time around, he skipped his crooks though, and they finished about the same times. So you'd expect that to be a similar story this time around. As you're mentioning, bot lane priority is going to be incredibly important, and right now it's Gadget and Enjawve that are winning that one out.
Yeah, after how some of the trades went at that level 1, level 2, the shenanigans go in favor of MOUZ, and you can see Enjawve moving up here towards the mid lane. Now, there is actually a ward already in place of this river, so XL, they know this is the kind of thing that Enjawve likes to do. Whenever they have bottom lane priority, Gadget will go get a cheer reset, and of course, just in this instance, it's just to doubly secure this Skull Crab here for Pridestalkr. Now, Markoon actually skipped out on his Krugs, so I wasn't paying attention to Markoon, but he's not done his Krugs. And it seemed like he maybe felt like he was going to be the one to get bottom lane Skull, so he just skipped out on it. And now he's going to path up to the top side. It's very inefficient pathing at the moment to be sort of level with Pridestalkr. And I mean, MOUZ even going as far as almost sending Enjawve all the way to the top lane to try and get Markoon off that top Skull too.
I'm pretty sure he just went straight from his red buff to that top scuttle and was just like, look, I'm going to get double scuttled if I don't get my ass up towards this top side right now. So I think that was the play in Markoon's mind right there. And it's important to mention that we talked in game number 1 about the jungle difference between these two players. With this matchup, Markoon has been able to keep up in terms of that CS deficit early on and hasn't fallen behind Pridestalkr like you would have expected on paper between these two players.
Yeah, and I think doubly when you think about the jungle matchup itself, you ask jungle mains, you know, if you're playing Hecarim, what kind of champion do you not want to play against? A lot of them will list something like XinZhao just because of how oppressive it can be. But Pridestalkr, yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Out here from Orome. Another boomerang of proc the hype, but that'd be a lot of damage as well. Leader under the tower here. Want to take a hit though, just trading very heavily onto Hatrixx. Does feel like our solo lane is this is getting a little bit personal. And I want to quickly mention something as well, because for Satorius, he's the only German player on this German team, on this Prime League roster from mousesports. In the way that you and I have been cheering for Deadly across the course of this series, Jamada, the German fans at home are cheering for Satorius. And feels like Orome had the better of that matchup in game number 1 of the series. But Satorius, as you mentioned in the draft, he's had some banger Gragas games across the course of this tournament.
Yeah, you really have to look sort of towards that mid game. Once XL and MOUZ start to group up around objectives, things of the like, just keep an eye on Satorius, because he will always manage to find these flank angles, or very often does manage to find himself in these angles where he can just go uncontested and throw these casks in, and have all of the follow-up available on top of it. And when you've got, again, Encore, Yone, Orome in the face sealed, a lot of damage can come down, a lot of CC just happens, and if Deadly or Hatrixx are caught up in that combination, they're just gone. They're just going to be wiped off Summoner's Rift. There isn't really much counterplay as soon as you get put in that CC chain. Doubly so if you don't have Summoners.
Yeah, it looks like bot wave is going to be pushing towards BTXL. Markoon waiting in the wings here. Pridestalkr is on this side of the map as well. Spotted now on a ward. Advienne goes in. Enjawve gets a hook onto Deadly though. Gadget looking to follow up. Pridestalkr's here as well. Flash out from Advienne, and it looks like BTXL deciding this isn't a fight they want to take.
Yeah, definitely not feeling that one. There's no level 6 available for Markoon. So it just means that his skirmishing not really stronger than Pridestalkr's. And the engage in general was just a tad botch. They couldn't really find Gadget in that trade. So cool off. And I think that's definitely the right call. You don't necessarily want to lose kills on top of losing this dragon, which you were probably going to lose anyway. Leader had pretty consistent mid lane priority so far in this matchup on top of that. So XL make the right call. MOUZ get dragon.
Feels good for MOUZ to be able to get themselves that first Drake, especially after game number 1. But the first and second Drake went the way of BTXL. So it's a nice start here for MOUZ when they've got this very aggressive early game jungler to have control a little bit in this early game. And the Yone pick that we talked about now starting to work out. And I do want to quickly mention this mid lane matchup a bit, because we have 2 Norwegians in the mid lane here, our nutty Norwegians, if you will. It's Leader up against Hatrixx, and when you look at the 2 champions that have been locked in as well, I feel like stylistically, these 2 champions very much fit the players that are piloting them.
Yeah, definitely in character for both of these players here. Satorius is probably just dead. I don't think there's much...
He's doomed. This is going to be first blood, surely taken down by Markoon. Very nicely done by Orome to set it up.
Yeah, very nice by Orome. Just manages to get that Gnar in just before the Mega Gnar self-timed out. Get a nice little replay here. Oh, we're getting the T-Tours, man.
Oh, let's
go. Yeah, Satorius, not really much you can do about this one with Markoon in such close proximity. Flashes away, but realistically his doom is pretty much inevitable. A poor big man with the cask.
You know, it's called Gentleman Gnar, but he didn't look like a gentleman in that from me. Like, no, that's not very gentlemanly at all. But neither is this from Pridestalkr as Orome.
Yeah.
Forced to flash away.
He'll
be followed though and sliced in 2 by Pridestalkr.
That was some damage coming out from Pridestalkr. He's got that serrated Dirk, so all of that extra lethality, the AD, just ends up popping the Gnar, and of course Orome opting in for the Merc Tread just because the body slam CC can be so oppressive. I mean, he doesn't have any of those base stats from the Ninja Tabi available to him, so being a mini, easy pop.
I think maybe Pridestalkr heard me talking about the Frostfire build.
No.
Rocket,
no.
not again. Surely not again. Deadly with the rocket.
Okay,
we got baited. He got the W on the Dragon in game 1. I got excited there when the observers followed the rocket. I got baited and outsmarted. It is what it is. So let's talk CS leads right now. Let's talk who's ahead, because we've got Orome on a Gnar. Gnar does very well by default into the Gragas, so he's built himself a little bit of a CS lead. Obviously, there was the assist up there as well. But across the board, it is actually fairly even across things. We don't have any lanes that are massively far ahead, and it feels like a much more slow, calculated early game from both teams than game 1.
Yeah, it certainly does. Gold lead, nearly negligible at this point, especially when you take into consideration Pridestalkr, of course, has the Herald, so normally it's sort of just a sitting gold of about 320. And then obviously sometimes you can get extra plates depending on the play, so gold lead can definitely be made up here for MOUZ. And I think if you're XL, you're happy with the fact that this game hasn't turned into some chaotic fiesta. Just because these champions, Orianna, Jinx, even Gnar, Hecarim, all of them, they need a little bit of time to ramp. So I think MOUZ, for now, getting all of these neutral objectives, they're doing a good enough job of what they need to be doing. But I think once we sort of hit this mid game, they want to try and pull the trigger a little bit, try and find some engages on side laners or just people that are overextending on the side of XL.
And I want to remind people at home as well that, like, when you look at this tournament, this is very much the pathway into the LEC. When you look at some of the players that have won in the past, that's very much been the case. On the side of MOUZ, moving into game number 2 here, we've got a lot of players that are now backs against the wall, looking for their redemption stories, their ways back into the LEC. When you look at the top 3 players on this roster, Leader, Pridestalkr, Satorius, have all either played in, well, LEC or EULCS, if it was a little longer ago. And it feels like this is their opportunity to make it back to that top level of competition. But they're now backs against the wall. They need to be proactive now. With this XinZhao pick, try and find ways to take control of this game. Pridestalkr is going to make that happen on the top side. Orome knocked back by Satorius, who wants this redemption story to come true. Orome chased down Markoon in, though, and maybe is overcommitted on this one. Should be able to dash away, but it's a great kill coming through for Pridestalkr. Yeah, the Crescent Sweep almost sent Markoon underneath the tower just because of the way they interacted with each other at the time. Orome, though, just a little bit too far up, didn't quite have Markoon in pocket immediately, and that was just the difference between him living at that gank and dying. However, we'll see whether anything gets traded across the map for XL. With Markoon being on the top side, it's not like they could trade an immediate cross-map dive on the bottom side, though they could potentially look for a little bit of control around this dragon, though with Orome teleporting to the top side, it means MOUZ are going to have numbers advantage. So just having the TP there means that XL, they're always going to have to worry about potential flank or just being in a 4v5 if Orome can't shove in the wave and try and walk down. Pridestalkr is moving over. Markoon looking to move towards his Krugs, I think, here. So perhaps MOUZ just get this one for free.
Yeah.
I don't think BTXL are willing to contest this one, despite the fact that Hatrixx actually, I think, having priority in the mid lane, or maybe there was just out of minions entirely. Pridestalkr onto the Drake regardless. This will be the second Drake of the game going their way. This time around, when you think back to what happened in game number 1, it was BTXL with the first 2 Drakes, and then opting out of the third one to get a Herald to start getting towers down and to build an advantage that way. This time, it's a much slower pace of game, and it's MOUZ that are taking charge. Yeah,
it is, and not a single objective really traded here for XL. It's not like they were crossing up and getting jungle camps, dives, pressure anywhere. They've just kind of been losing out. Plain and simply. Pridestalkr, unfortunately, he's got to drop this Herald in the mid lane because it was about to time out. So not able to find a perfect time to use it. And with 3 members here on the side of BTXL, this might not even really go through on a charge, though Shelly seems pretty committed. Let's the eyes open again. I think they should.
Can we get one of those tracked autos that hits it? It's not going to happen. Hook comes in, knockoff is there, and the damage. Pridestalkr just obliterates Hatrixx.
This XinZhao champion with this Eclipse build, man, he's popping some damage on these squishies, and Leader, of course, Enjawve both there to help. Knockup is available for Leader, but I don't know if he's got the damage for Advienne. No.
Not quite enough there. Advienne survives. Markoon now in the mid lane, but looks like they're not going to commit to the play here. Just going to try and catch the wave, deny the plates, deny anything further. But let's just take a moment and appreciate that Pridestalkr is miles ahead in this jungle match. He's doing unbelievable damage.
Yeah, this time around, he's had lanes of priority to play around. He's been able to be just that extra bit more aggressive. And XL, I think, just posturing a little bit too high up. Hatrixx, I think because the Herald charged, he wasn't actually able to flash away from the hook. I think he was in CC. I think him and Advienne both were in CC, so he couldn't flash away.
Look, you said Shelly was committed.
Shelly was committed.
Absolutely right on that one. Shelly is well and truly a German player at this point. She gets the honorary title at that stage. As we can see the total damage so far this game. Obviously, Orome's playing Gnar against the melee top laner. Yes, he's going to have a lot of damage in the laning phase. But look at Pridestalkr. That's a jungler. Junglers don't usually have much champion damage in the early stages of the game, but that lethality coming through, Pridestalkr is making his mark on the early game.
Yes, sorry he is. And Eclipse in pocket. Double longsword. I'm trying to think. Because normally it's Sterak's. I'm pretty sure Sterak's doesn't have 2 longswords in its inventory build, so... Oh, leader.
He's stepped a little too far on this one. Shockwave comes up through. He flashes out. It's going to be followed. Hatrixx does the moonwalk through the wall to take the kill.
Yeah. Not sure what leader's doing there, to be quite frank with you.
Raptors. Raptors, I think it's called, yeah. Or Wraiths if you're an old school player.
Wraiths if you're an old school player. Chickens if you like to be fancy. Or just different.
Popcorn chicken if you're an LCK commentator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a bit strange from leader. And it's going to be transitioned into a immediate Rift Herald. So let's see what XL can do with this. Now, it seems though MOUZ, they're moving members up why it might be a little too late to secure this Herald. Enjawve, I mean, yeah, you can tell just by the posturing. They really oh my god.
Yeah, knock up onto Hatrixx. Here we go, but he dodges the knock up. Satorius now arriving. Fake Sealed is their leader. At least gets a kill off the back of this one, but Markoon got that Herald importantly. Deadly in the meantime is hammering away on a tower. I don't think he'll finish this, but might be able to deny it. Oh my days, the damage is there. Satorius nearly goes down. Yeah. Now leader's caught in the top. This game has just exploded into pure chaos. Leader has to go back to his shadow here, and Orome is waiting with a wallop. Easy kill for the side of BTXL. 3-4 now as the game erupts into chaos.
I'm not sure what's going on, but at this point, chaos might start to benefit BTXL just because of the nature of how the early game went. The fact that the gold lead is practically even. If they start to trade kills, if the gold goes into the pockets of these carries, as long as they don't fall significantly behind and they posture around objectives correctly, they have the setup there, they're going to be fine with any of these kill trades going over, even neutrally. I think for MOUZ, they just have to find these key carries, right? But very strange set of occurrences there on both sides of the map, really. Leader, Hatrixx, 2 times back-to-back in Leader's case, and Deadly all the while amongst this chaos, left alone to farm the bottom lane. He picks up that solo tower, got the Kraken Slayer, even a stopwatch very early on to try and avoid some of this dive as well. We'll have to see if MOUZ keep track of that, press the tab key.
If I'm not 100% sure on this one. If I'm not mistaken, though, I believe that stopwatch might
be runes. Yeah, okay, it might be.
But I'm not 100% sure on that one. Yeah, one thing I do want to point out, you mentioned the 2 longswords from inside of Pridestalkr. He now has a pickaxe as well. I believe that might be a collector on its way right there from Pridestalkr. I think he might go in full ham.
No, I don't think he will. It would be funny, but it would also mean that he's just not so tanky. That's an engage from MOUZ.
Bit of anti-synergy though. Leader jumps onto the backline, gets Hatrixx straight himself, pulled back in by the Rell, knocked against the wall. Deadly, but finally goes down. Deadly's free firing, as you say. Pridestalkr runs out of ulti. Boulder onto 4 people, but Orome knocked up, flashes out himself. Satorius trying to chase it. It's just a 1-for-1 in the end. Mid laner for mid laner.
Yeah, mid laner for the mid laner. I think Markoon ran out of mana and wasn't able to cast Onslaught of Shadows, or maybe just didn't feel like he had a ample opportunity to use it. Herald now dropped in the mid lane. Both mid laners no teleport, so this is still going to be strictly kind of a 4v4 if the BTXL members didn't back. So it looks like this is just going to be a tower trade here for this dragon. 3rd dragon in the back pockets of MOUZ, but it's only a Cloud Dragon, and in this game, Cloud Soul, it's not necessarily the most oppressive soul in the world to give over. Obviously, you don't want to give a soul over in any scenario, make that Elder spawn up sooner, but it's not like you're having to deal with an Infernal or a Mountain or, of course, an Ocean. Get the replay here of this fight. The Encore, I mean, the CC still lands from both members, but as you say, it's still a little bit of anti-synergy there. Hatrixx is absolutely just removed from Summoner's Rift. The Gnar is nice to sort of dissuade a little bit of the forward movement from MOUZ, and Deadly is kind of free-firing. A lot of AoE comes down, but Enjawve with his positioning, it just means that Deadly can't really posture properly without potentially blowing his flash to stay out of range of a dredge line, so he just opts for the safer choice of just keeping his Summoner spells, not trying to go for anything too crazy.
Advienne waiting here just in case Leader tries to do anything spicy on towards Hatrixx. And, you know, it's not often that you see on the scoreboard that both mid laners are losing their matchup. Usually, these matchups are won by one player or the other, but we've got 2 mid laners, 1 and 3 so far in this game. They have been the targets for both of these teams. But right now, when you look at where that gold is for either team, it's Orome once again for BTXL that is holding the lead. 2,000 gold up individually. His Gnar ults have been phenomenal. He has a favorable matchup, and it feels like the weight is on his shoulders across the course of this game until later on to be able to win out these mid-game fights.
Yeah, certainly so, and sort of not strange to consider, but definitely impressive to think about the fact that Pridestalkr was kind of picking on him a little bit in the early stages as well. To still come out with a pretty significant gold lead is certainly props and credit to be given to Orome for being able to come back into it, really. And like you say, it's going to be about the impacts of those Gnars. And I mean, honestly, on the opposite side, you can say the same thing about this Gragas pick on Satorius. The cask value, how much he's going to be able to get out of it, which members, core members in Deadly and Hatrixx, is he consistently going to be able to knock back in to the weighing arms of Leader and Pridestalkr.
So MOUZ grouping up on the top side of the map here. They will be able to get themselves another tier 1. That will even us up when it comes to towers right here. It's a tier 1 on either side. And then the mid laners, or the mid towers, sorry, taken for either team. It's BTXL grouping up around the Baron. I don't think there's any world where they can just start a 20-minute Baron at this point, but maybe you could catch Leader, who's realized what's going on, and he'll skedaddle off on the top side of the map.
Yeah, he's, well, I would say learn his lesson, but the chicken fiasco was kind of just, maybe he was hungry. Maybe just needed that mid-series snack or something, I'm not sure.
Look, sometimes we all need a bit of a chicken fiasco. It's usually a Friday night kind of deal for me, but, you know, Leader, more of a Saturday afternoon kind of guy, I guess. But as we kind of reset, we've had a much slower game number 2 here, but important to mention, as you said before, 3 Drakes taken by MOUZ. 2 minutes until that next Drake comes back onto the map. And it feels like, sure, it's a Cloud Soul, but for BTXL, surely they have to fight for this. They've got 2 items on the Jinx. You've got Hatrixx with that Everfrost that's going to be heading towards 2 items at some point soon as well. Like, you feel like BTXL can't just give this one up for free.
Yeah, I think if you're XL, you don't want to give this one up. It's just the nature of the game. Games can start to feel oppressive just because you've given over a soul, right? We'll see how high the priority is for them to try and deny this one away. At the moment, you can see moving numbers more or less fully into the bomb side. They have no business on the top side right now. They've got enough vision to...
Sorry, I just noticed. I'm completely interrupting you here.
Yeah.
Satorius has...
Oh.
He hates healing. He has a Bramble Vest. He has an Oblivion Orb. Like, there is no healing that will happen near Satorius. He doesn't care that they do the same thing. It's just like a fundamental thing for him, I guess. He cannot stand anyone that heals.
He's played versus too many Vladimirs or something, man. He's not feeling it this game. I mean, there's not really a crazy amount of healing on the BTXL side, but what there is a crazy amount of is engage.
Enjawve denies the engage. That was beautiful. The cask scatters the team. This is perfect from MOUZ. Charm across everyone as well, but Markoon answers it. Satorius goes down. It's 2 kills for BTXL. How on earth have they won this fight?
The teleport from Leader was just too deep, too far into the territory of XL in the mid lane. Pridestalkr might have just potentially misstepped, but he's got flash. I mean, he's turning it onto Markoon.
Look at the damage onto Markoon. Hook goes in, but it's blocked by Advienne, and now it's Enjawve that's caught instead. Has to use a stopwatch here. Flame Choppers should stop the escape. One more auto finishes it off. Zap goes wide, though. Drake spawning here. Markoon survived, but so did Pridestalkr. Markoon has to reset before this Drake.
Yeah, that's the difference, though. Markoon has to reset to get his HP back. Pridestalkr full HP. Went and ate up the Gromp, and of course has the Eclipse, some of that Omnivamp as well. Not quite the same amount of healing available for Markoon, but still going to be XL starting up this dragon. They've got the teleports. They feel like they can bully MOUZ off with the numbers and the zoning.
I was about to say,
that's going to be the
Flame
case.
Chompers. You can't do anything. Flame Chompers are there. There's no way in anymore. Like, you don't get to enter here.
Yeah, and we'll get a look at this replay, and yeah, you see Enjawve. Plus, of course, Pridestalkr just stopping the initial engage. The cask is great, but just look where the teleport is. It's in the middle of basically everybody, and Advienne just sits on top of it with the Magnet Storm plus the Crush Down. And it means that, I mean, Leader doesn't get to press any buttons. He dies in CC to Deadly.
Oh, yeah, the only button he pressed
was
D.
teleport. Yeah, he only pressed teleport. That was it. And at this point, XL, they feel like they can maybe press an advantage because they've got 2 members dead on the enemy team. But they kind of just overstep a little bit, and MOUZ, I guess, just get a little bit too confident in themselves. They see the health slowly dropping on the XL side, but it's the Flame Chompers off the back of the Zhonya's, and if this zap honestly landed, I could have seen Deadly running forward even further with that reset.
And we talked about how Deadly stepping on in has had pretty great laning stats. He's had pretty good stats as an AD carry, but not topping the tables, you know? He's been a fairly middling but strong late game AD carry. And it feels like he's set up to succeed in that regard. Has 2.5 items here, has a bit of armor pen. Top tower taken here as the third one of the game for BTXL. They got that Drake to stall that win condition from MOUZ, and now Baron on the cards. With a Kraken Slayer on a Jinx, that is always an option here. Orome looking for a fight potentially as he chases MOUZ out of the area.
Yeah, and the thing is, now looking forward on this game, it's only gonna get harder for MOUZ, just because BTXL's composition is very much does what it says on the tin kind of comp. You've got Orianna, you've got Hecarim, you've got Engage, you've got Scaling, you've got Zone Control. It doesn't really get much more bog standard League of Legends than this composition. So for MOUZ, they've got to start to get creative now, for me. They've got to either try and find Orome overextend on a side lane without necessarily giving over the Baron for the sake of the pick. They've got to try and catch members in rotation from BTXL with a cheeky cask, with a Fate Sealed, you know, with an Encore of the Wall. It's got to be something. They've got ranged engage, and a lot of it is non-committal, so it's not like they have to necessarily throw bodies at trying to make picks happen. But they can't necessarily frontal fight anymore, or as things go on, it will get far harder for them to make these fights become successful.
And I have to say, I just want to kind of pick your brain on this, because I'm by no means a Gragas top expert, but Satorius, he's got two different types of healing reduction. He's building Turbo Chem Tank, but then he has a tier and Doran's like what? Munch. Yeah, mate, I'm listening. Hit me with it.
He's the one item power spiking. All right, he doesn't need more items than that Chem Tank. All right, you just gotta have faith in him. I'm not sure what he's actually gonna finish. Normally when you see Chem Tank,
wait, does he have a flask right now?
What?
Satorius hates gold, man.
Did he have a blue pot?
He's got a flask. He's got a flask one right now.
Yeah, it just dissipated. No, you're not wrong. I saw the effects too. All right, look.
My mind is blown.
Yeah, gold efficiency. Gold efficiency isn't on Satorius' mind right now, I don't think. And the thing with the tier is he's probably not going to complete it. You don't typically see Chem Tank, Archangel Staff Gragas's rolling around on the Rift. So I'm not sure where he's going with that build. Yeah, well, future news report on its way.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Pridestalkr caught out in the river here. He's going to have to use his ult very early on here. Deadly can't follow. And now it's going to be Flame Chomps down onto Enjawve.
Okay,
also has to try to escape the fight. Leader in, but he's just CC'd up and taken out of the play. Deadly to finish. And now Orome chasing for more with the ankle breaker. Knocked back onto Markoon, jumps over the wall, looking for more, trying to chase these kills down, but they're just out of arm's reach consistently.
Yeah, that was so unfortunate for the side of XL. They really could have ran away with that fight there a little bit more, but the gaps just couldn't be closed, unfortunately. But the end result is likely going to be just Baron startup. And I mean, XL, they haven't committed Shockwave, and they've still got Mega Nut. It's about to time out. They can kind of zone Pridestalkr off. Yeah, I mean,
Shockwave onto Pridestalkr. He's surely going to go down. Shut down for Orome, who wants a little bit more as he chases Enjawve into the mid lane. Get out of the jungle, screams Orome. And now onto the Baron once more with this Jinx with Kraken Slayer. It's an easy take here. Satorius trying to escape. TP coming on through from leader here, but the Flame Chompers are enough of a disengage. BT get it, and they get a bonus TP out of it.
Yeah, honestly, off the back of this, BTXL, they're looking prime to take the series. In my opinion, at the moment, MOUZ just look really lost.
MOUZ was a prime team before the season.
Yeah, exactly. So it starts with Pridestalkr just trying to clear some vision a little bit too far forward. The Fate Sealed flash comes forward from leader, but it's quite frankly, there's just not enough damage there. An Aura attack follows him all the way back to his clone, and the cask is just about enough to stop Markoon from locking anybody back into the team, into the waiting arms of Deadly to get another reset down. So it does stop a bit of a kill chain, but at the end of the day, they still try to recommit with too many tools and effectively just in the Shockwave available. Leader just had to Orome out on the bottom side, and he's going to snap back anyway.
Oh no, he's stuck. You're absolutely right. Not available. Leader jumps back into the fray. Surviving for now. Pridestalkr is there alongside him to try and protect, but he finally goes down. Damage coming out from Deadly, who's looking to clean up the fight. Pridestalkr has no ulti. Jumps onto the AD carry, but the stopwatch from earlier. He's got time to talk about. Deadly Deadly surviving. Satorius, the healing reduction comes up huge for him, but he still goes down. Hatrixx with a double kill, and BTXL with the fight.
Yeah, they find the ace, they find the dragon, they've still got the Baron buff in their pocket. He's got...
Thank God for the double healing reduction. Deadly could have survived there if it wasn't for the negative healing he was doing.
I don't know what's going on in his inventory. It's all right. I'm just gonna
don't worry
look.
about it.
I'm just gonna choose to ignore it at this point. I'm not quite sure what's going on. So on the bottom side, Leader just gets caught out by Orome walking out of the bush. The slows, the hyper proxy just has to ulm out. And honestly, it's pretty much just a fortunate occurrence that Hatrixx isn't immediately here for this fight, because if he is, I think it just ends far faster for the side of XL. MOUZ probably wouldn't have much of an answer. And Deadly almost goes untouched for most of it, but you see Pridestalkr, he lands the W, still has that mark on top of Deadly, the challenging mark, and it just means he can dash all the way back in, he gets all the damage in. Satorius eventually flashes back towards his jungler to help him secure the shutdown, but at the end of the day, XL, they still win out. They find the fight. It does slow down effectively the pace of the game in the sense of XL, honestly, with how they were looking, they could have just opened up the base entirely. At this point, looks like a little bit of a waiting for the next Baron kind of scenario, but yeah. XL, they're looking primed, man. They're looking like they could just take down MOUZ in a 2-0.
Yeah, they're looking primed and ready to finish this series off. They've got an 8,000 gold lead as they siege onto the top tier 2. Satorius taking a huge chunk from Hatrixx there, who on this Orianna pick, again, hasn't been the topic of conversation, but has been consistent with these shockwaves in the fight.
Markoon is in.
Comes through. It's going to be on into the middle of everyone. Knocked up and taken down. Hatrixx with a great flash to survive. Shockwave onto one. Leader trying to find more. Keep your eyes on Deadly. He's got to survive as Orome is off on the flank, threatening more. MOUZ, though, managed to break the siege.
They do break the siege, and this is what I was talking about earlier. MOUZ have a bunch of non-committal engage tools. Through the cask, Encore, even Leader's ultimate. Whilst, yes, you technically throw your body in, as long as you don't get CC'd, you can always drag yourself back out. So, I mean, hell, even the Nautilus ultimate. So, they don't necessarily have to commit to fights like this, and this is why XL, they have to be very careful with some of their positioning when they're right in front of MOUZ like this in some of these sieges, because you can have stuff like what we just saw, Markoon just getting thrown into the wolf pit, doesn't even get to ultimate back out. That's how long he was CC'd for. So have to pay a little more mind to that. MOUZ at the moment, they're looking for a death rush, but I think it's going to be split out.
Yeah, it's going to be split out. But on top of that, I just want to mention something that, look, Leader, he hasn't had the greatest game ever, but he's a Yone. Yeah. He's got 2 items. He will still one-shot people. It does not matter that he has died 6 times. If he gets a great ulti off, if Gadget's charm is over the top of it as well, there's still plenty of just one-shot potential inside of MOUZ. So BT have to play this well.
Yes. Despite the gold lead being quite large at this moment in time, like you say, you know, you got to play it by the books. You've got to be careful. Some of the spells really, really important, especially for a champion like Jinx and Orianna, where there's no mobility skills, so have to really check themselves. As sieging again up to the top side, Orome this time is actually here and has Mega Gnar, so that's the difference between this siege and the last. See if they go to pull the trigger.
Gnar onto 2 on the back line.
It's
goes the
nasty.
2 horses as well. The CC chain. There's just nothing you can do. Leader desperate to turn it around. Deadly flashes away though. Rocket follows him off to the clone as well. Still 4 members strong from the side of MOUZ. Satorius barely survived, gets out with his life as well. Orome can't finish anything off, and Deadly barely any HP to talk about. BTXL twice now in the top tier 2 are demolished.
Yeah, they're so committed to try and take down this last tier 2 tower. I think maybe so they just feel like they can take a little more control of the jungle, but at this point, you don't really need it. I can kind of understand maybe you don't want to siege mid because it gives MOUZ the opportunity to flank from both sides, but I don't know, the engage here, it starts off really well. You can see the CC comes in, and they do eventually find Gadget, but they're not really finding anybody else. Pridestalkr is going to jump into the middle of the fight here, credit sweep everybody away. Hatrixx is in the middle of everything to Zhonya's, and Deadly has to flash away from Leader, and whilst he's doing that, that means he's not auto-attacking all of these CC'd and clumped up targets of MOUZ, and off the back of that, yeah, MOUZ just gets soul. So I mean, honestly, I think it's just a slight from BTXL to consistently try and push on this top tier 2 tower when they realistically don't need to. It's standing goal that they will eventually take if they just play the map and wait and try and play for Baron or something like that.
And honestly, it just feels like just wait for one more wave. You've got a Jinx. The tower is barely any HP. Like, just wait one more wave and maybe just get the tower anyway. They wanted to pull the trigger. It doesn't work out for them. Now Orome getting pulled in. It's only mini Gnar, but he's basically full build at this point. He's one item away, so he's not particularly scared right now. He is a very tanky boy, even in that mini Gnar. Shield comes on through as he starts to build up that rage bar. And it looks like Orome wants a little bit more. Finding a way in. Has flash available as Mega Gnar is about to tick over, but MOUZ respect it. BTXL now have control of this top side of the map.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have a whole bunch of vision down just about 2 wards, but the point is that MOUZ, they are the ones that don't really have any vision here, so it's still the same effect. You know, MOUZ, you're going to be shoving in this mid lane to see where they're going to be. Oh, flash engage from Enjawve.
Enjawve blocks the hook from Enjawve. Deadly with a cleanse, but he's into the fight anyway. He's getting one shot by Pridestalkr on the back line, who is taking over the fight. Keep your eyes on the XinZhao from Pridestalkr. Down will go Orome, down will go Advienne as well. Hatrixx is here to try and protect his top laner. GA still in his pocket, so he will be able to survive, but MOUZ are taking over this game. Hatrixx, no shockwave available as MOUZ look for more. They're trying to get into the Baron pit, but Hatrixx is doing everything in his power, dodging absolutely everything thrown his way. It's not enough though, as MOUZ will get the big purple worm.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher from BTXL. I think they're trying really hard to group up so that they can use the strength of their composition, but they're kind of just A-ramming in spots where it's just not necessary. And like we've hammered the point home by now already, MOUZ have all of these non-committal engage elements. If you just stand in front of them, you're going to give them the opportunity, like what we're about to see on our screens off this replay, to just go in. And in this case, they almost find Deadly with the hook, but it's the ultimate from Nautilus, and then Leader also dashing forward on top of Pridestalkr, getting away from the shockwave in the middle of it all. It's too much for Deadly's handle. We can't layer out these ultimates, these ult attacks, and if Hatrixx has to consistently use his shockwave to peel for Deadly, and it's not working, then XL, they're just gonna outright lose on these fights. There's nothing else to really say about it. MOUZ, they're playing well on what is realistically just XL fundamentally playing the composition wrong right now.
But that's an important point to bring up, that you can't make these outplays happen without your opponent making a mistake.
That's right.
Positioning. And MOUZ taking these opportunities and blowing them wide open. It felt like BTXL were on the cusp of closing out a semi-final and making NLC history here. But MOUZ will not go down without a fight. And Pridestalkr especially, look at that scoreline. This XinZhao pick didn't work out in the first game, but they said they're willing to run it back, and it's working beautifully in game number 2. Now Orome up on the flank, trying to build up his rage bar. I thought they were posturing for Dragon. It's not for another 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not for another 2 minutes, so kind of just posturing to posture. I don't know if the time has gone by for XL to try and set up somewhere, because this is what they realistically need. They need MOUZ to walk into them, yes, but it has to be through, you know, jungle corridors, chokeholds, so that they can at least control, for the most part, a lot of the angles that MOUZ actually come at them from. But we've just seen them kind of ARAM or force engages. Markoon, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good look for Markoon. Gets caught out in the jungle there. Pridestalkr now jumping onto Orome as well, who jumps over the wall, gets himself out to safety. But those two little mini picks back to back, sure, they don't get a kill, but they buy so much space to blow this bottom tower open.
Yeah, exactly. And just more gold to go back into the pockets of MOUZ. Yes, the gold leads start to matter a lot less this moment in time, just because of how far we are into this game, but it's still a positive thing. And hell, they've got 2 buffed up cannon minions. They've got Leader in the mid lane. They're probably going to open up the base at the very least on this siege. Seems like it will be the case.
Satorius stepping up. They're going to try and go for the dive here. Pridestalkr underneath the tower here. Charm across the team as well. This might be it for MOUZ as they blow the base open. They find a kill for themselves. Leader in onto the fray, but he misses everyone. And he CC jumps back out of the fight. And Orome's in amongst everyone. Has the Gnar ultimate, just holding on to that one. Pulls him in. Gadget stuck. Gets taken down. Deadly's free firing off of the backside right here. Leader's chasing him down, trying to finish the AD carry off. Flashes away and gets the kill. Leader finds his moment. And the hook is beautiful from Enjawve. Triple kill for Pridestalkr. And MOUZ will take us to 3 games.
MOUZ, they show their tenacity here. They were down about 8,000 gold in the mid game. But it doesn't really matter. They used the tools available to them. When BTXL presented them with opportunities, they took them. And all of a sudden, we're back to a best of 1. MOUZ, they're going to even up the scoreline here.
Unbelievable performance coming out from MOUZ here. And it has to be said, BTXL had this game. They had complete control, and MOUZ punish misstep after misstep. Really beautiful play coming out from MOUZ. And again, MOUZ started off strong. They had control in the early game. It started to fall apart a bit, but they held on. And, you know, if you think back 20 minutes, you saw leader not having a great scoreline. There was a lot of reasons for, if you're on that team, to just mental boom and give up in the series. They don't. They hold on. They've got the veterans. They've got the mental fortitude, and they push us to game 3.
Yeah, they push us to game 3. I think, honestly, after a performance like that, to come back from such a large deficit, props to them. And they don't want to die again in the semifinals. They want to make it to finals this time around. They want to do their region proud. They knocked out big. They want to go the distance here, clearly. So I think now I look towards XL and I say, you very clearly could have just taken the series 2-0. How are you going to approach this third and final game here?
Yeah, speaking of mental fortitude, we'll see if BTXL have it as they head towards game number 3. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll decide this series right after.
She got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, it takes me away to that special place, and if I stay too long, I'll probably break down and cry. Sweet child of mine. Oh, sweet love of mine. She got eyes of the bluest skies, as if they thought of rain. I'd hate to look into those eyes and see an ounce of pain. Her hair reminds me of a once safe place where as a child I'd hide and pray for the thunder and the rain to cry to pass me by. Oh, sweet child of mine. Oh, sweet love of mine. All or nothing.
Welcome back to the EU Masters semifinals. MOUZ Esports even out the series here against BTXL. There goes your prediction, Trouble.
Can I say, I mean, MOUZ seem to be winning games they have no business winning, so I'm used to that.
How did they adapt, though, this game? How did they adapt to what BTXL was doing in game 1 and what the draft was from there because they stayed on the same side. So there was some prior picks that they wanted to get from them, especially on the last pick.
Honestly, I loved the fact that they give the Jinx away to Deadly, because if Deadly gets the chance to have the Jinx in his hands, he will take it. But what you take away is the mobility that the Kai'Sa had in the previous game. So here you're piling onto, again, the melees if you're mousesports, but the adaptation came in with the Yone that can reach the backline, with the Gragas that can throw and cast and also reach the backline. And now you have put Deadly on something that he feels safe at, but he's not safe at all due to these picks coming in. And it felt like at the start it was the Deadly show, all in the bot lane, all along, getting solo XP, getting solo gold. But then his other lanes were suffering because Pridestalkr was everywhere.
I was about to say Pridestalkr here really shining through in the early game, but on the same champion as game 1. So what made his job easier here?
It had to be the mid lane prayer that he was getting from leader, because with the Yone, you don't have mana, you don't have rage, but you can just go in and push every time against the Orianna. Hatrixx had, of course, to respect that. And with then we saw a bunch of ganks with Pridestalkr towards the top lane, trying to shut down Orome really early in the game, which gave, in turn, a lot of kills to Pridestalkr, which he translated throughout the rest of the map.
What missed for BTXL here? Because they were onto the third towers. We saw Deadly popping off on his Jinx. It was his time coming, but yeah, what happened here?
I think this is it. I think this is when you see your Jinx, she has the 2 to 3 items, and you're like, now it's the time. Now we're gonna push the trigger. And every single time, they were diving towers, they were overzealous to get disengages, Markoon was overextending, and there was one point in the green room where I actually said, look at that, Markoon hasn't died even once. And then they dived top lane tower, and then they all died, and I was like, cool, I've just jinxed it. But it was BTXL being overzealous, trying to use this Jinx now before it's too late, and the Seraphine heals everyone back up to full. And it just didn't work for them because MOUZ had the answers.
They had the answers, and there's a specific fight we want to break down with you right now. The mid-late time, close to the late game. Trouble, I'll let you do the job. What happened here?
Okay, let's find the clip first of all, because it is very important. And I want to highlight that, as you can see, Deadly is all the way behind his team. He's all the way at the back, but the crucial thing is he's missing his flash. And that is going to end up being deadly for him. So if I clear this and start playing the clip, remember what we said. The Yone here and the Gragas have much more dive potential on this comp than they did before in the previous one. So as I roll the clip, you'll see that the second Deadly overextends without a flash. He will get he will get the Nautilus ultimate on him, which then allows this guy, leader, to go in, and Satorius is also on the side. So as I continue playing this, you will see that they're piling on. What? You cleanse the Seraphine ultimate? Fine. The cast drops on you. Fine. You cleanse that? Pridestalkr is on you. Leader is on you. There was absolutely no way that Deadly could come out scar-free from a composition that has so much backline reach that even if one spell misses, there's a bunch of them that can pile up onto Deadly.
Wow, and after that, yeah, it was just too complicated for BTXL. We can just go to the desk and join Goldberg, who's been waiting for us all along. We're going to game 3. That's something you predicted, actually, Goldberg, at the beginning of the day.
Jinx it, Goldberg.
How is it jinxing when it's literally what I'm saying that's going to happen? I feel like that's the opposite of jinxing something. It was not in the manner I expected it to be. I expected it to be a lot more cheesy, but this is just MOUZ coming in with a standard backline dive composition. And I think that's been my main issue with BTXL throughout this series as well, is that you can kite back. You don't need to be the one who's actually moving forward every time. You have peel potential. You have a now ultimate that can be used to disengage as well. You have the Rell. Like, I would love for them to kite back when MOUZ starts engaging on them, but they're so overzealous, they're feeling so overconfident, and they go for a lot of these dives. I think for BTXL, you need to be a lot more patient with what you have here. You can clearly tell, like you talked about that top lane dive, where they just try to dive instead of taking a tower patiently, just waiting for them to come, and then you can start peeling back.
That specific dive, I counted how many auto attacks Deadly was able to pull out just because his team was overextended. 5. It was only 5 auto attacks, and he did the most damage for his team. I'm like, had you kited backwards, had you allowed him to put more auto attacks into this fight, your fight was won. The game was won. There was a 2-0 for you. Again, overzealous, pulling the trigger too quickly.
Now, coming into game 3, what kind of adaptation can we expect from BTXL and also from MOUZ? Because it feels like here MOUZ adapted rather well to what BTXL was throwing at them. But yeah, in this game 3, it's going to be the last game, by the way, deciding to finals. So yeah, what can we expect from both teams?
I think specifically that you don't need to see much adaptation in terms of composition. It's very clear what MOUZ wants to do, and it's this all-in. I love the way that Enjawve was part of getting Pridestalkr ahead this time around, where you had the bot lane influence the jungler. That's what I like to see when you have a XinZhao, so you can actually get in there and be a nuisance in your opponent's carries in the backline. For BTXL, like this comp, I liked it. I thought they had every tool they needed to close out this game at some point, but I just think that they're being too... They're misidentifying what they need to do a bit. I just, as I said before, like they need to kite back. They need to be more patient around these objectives, and then you can easily play out this composition. But maybe you need to go back to a style where Orome has more freedom. On the Gnar, did not seem like he had the same impact as he did in game 1 on, for example, the Renekton.
Is there a specific player we want to look at, Trouble? Because you told us during the last breakdown that you can expect a carry potential through any BTXL player.
Honestly, I think I'm jinxing them at this point.
Okay.
I talk about Hatrixx, he went 1-5 with the MOUZ. I talk about Orome, he dies twice in the early game. He goes 0-2 onto the Gnar. So I'm not going to necessarily say, okay, this guy, because we know that this BTXL, top to bot, every single one of them can actually pop off and make the difference. What I'm going to say, though, is that Lida twice, even now when he was 1-6 onto the Yone, he made the difference. He was the one going in, assassinating Deadly. So I like both these drafts. I want them to play the same. The only thing that I want to see changed is them playing to the win conditions. First game, it was BTXL playing to their win conditions, waiting for the key moments, key items, playing the textbook front to back, and now was MOUZ pulling the trigger with a very aggressive draft, and BTXL fell into the trap.
Quick prediction before we toss to break. We know that BTXL chose red here as they lost the game, which means that MOUZ won't have the last pick that they usually wished for. Any predictions knowing this?
Hatrixx Akali? I think Hatrixx Akali might be coming here. It's very easy to pick Akali when you're special on the red side. You've got counter pick, and you've got the 5 bans before R4. So I'm going to stick true to my prediction for the NLC and go with BTXL, but I have to side with you because now it has to be a 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a 2-1. I'm kind of looking for that R3 Renekton, seeing if that's why they're picking up, so they can get it before the second ban phase, ban some of the counters up, and put Orome in something that's more comfortable for him to carry on in as a melee carry.
We'll see about that in a few minutes. It all comes down to Game 3 in our opening series as BTXL and MOUZ are fighting for a spot in the EU Masters Spring Finals. Don't go anywhere.